unfortunately, this is not going to be a video, this is going to be a recording, because the camera that I was going to use unfortunately ran out of juice, and then I tried to do a video cam, webcam direct upload, and the webcam is from 1996 and undetectable, so doing this recording. This is a very wide-spanning reply to all the atheism videos on the internet. A few years ago, a friend of mine was showing me, I think he made a DVD of it, brought over a DVD, or maybe I watched it at his place. Anyway, he showed me the Why People Laugh at Creationists, or Why I Laugh at Creationists, or whatever, by Thunderfoot, and you know, I watched it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, this is kind of, it's informative, and, you know, sciencey and stuff, and I've always had this interest in science, and biology, and anatomy, and whatever else, and so it was kind of pertinent to my interests, and so I watched it with him, and yeah, okay, that's fine, and then he shows me Air on Raw, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, you know, this is kind of entertaining too, and then I tell him the parts I don't like, or when these guys are bashing other people's religions. And he basically said to me, like, that's what this is about, though. This is, like, their show is a reply to their religious beliefs. And it started getting, like, pretty profuse in their videos that, I mean, Why People Laugh at Creationists, I can see that. Like, initially I saw that as sarcasm, the title anyway. But as I started watching the video series and as time went on, the series became more and more not non-satirical and, you know, not sarcastic. It became quite serious in its mocking of other religions, and when it got to Thunderfoot specifically, when it got to Muslims, it just, nothing he recorded him saying sounded right, and there was this, like, weird backlash, kind of isolated internet community, misquoting, and it became this mess. I'm not going to say it was controversial for the internet, but the community of people that watch those videos and are involved in the videos and stuff, I mean, they're obviously looking for that. They're looking for what happens in those videos and what's being said. A lot of the time, I believe it would be atheists and just people who enjoy science are looking for reinforcement and, you know, trying to seek out, in a way, I suppose, other intellectuals on the internet that just kind of go off and speak their mind and put together clip shows and stuff, and that's great, but the thing that always set me apart from the shows was their bashing of other people's religions. And as time went on, my friend and I, we started watching full-length movies. I think one of them we watched was 4 or 6 hours long. I think it might have been called The Ring of Power or something like that. And we also watched Zeitgeist, and we watched a bunch of just people going around with cameras and talking and asking people questions and stuff, and it was great. And started watching Richard Dawkins documentaries, and he bought a whole bunch of Richard Dawkins books and he lent them to me, and a little ways in, I think it might have been The God Delusion that I was reading, I was just like, you know, this is kind of trite. Like, it's really trite. And I mean, from the beginning to end, you know what the book's about, you know what's being said, and a lot of it was self-referential, so my opinions on it were kind of moot. And so he lent me his the books and papers and stuff that he wrote before, and I think even a book that he did after. And I basically said, you know, I'm not interested in this stuff. Like, I've got, like, you know, 5 of his books now in my room, and we've watched all this stuff, but it's really, I said straight up, like, it's kind of trite. Like, I don't need to be convinced that there, you know, isn't a metaphysical, spiritual, singular being overseeing the universe. Like, I don't need to be convinced of their non-existence, and I'm not going to go on for an hour and a half that you should, you know, believe in that, because it's just, I've always approached, I mean, well, I don't know, maybe he lent me this stuff and thought it would be of interest, because for a while, I was deeply interested in the occult, and for a long time, like, most of my library, to date, most of it is anatomy, physiology, and then some biology, and then the rest of it, honestly, is all occultism. It's all different languages and stuff. But specifically, I suppose he thought this would be an interest to me because himself, I believe he considers himself an atheist, and it's not necessarily that he prides himself in mocking other people's religions or other people's viewpoints, but he has always seemed to pride himself in helping people reason out what they're seeing and what they're speaking, and And I've always appreciated that about him, actually. I've always considered him a very reasonable human being, and I think we've had a lot of very meaningful conversations which have perhaps actually shaped our lives in a greater way, he and I just talking, and I greatly value that. And to this day, I mean, the YouTube movement that happened and the sparks that flew after Aaron Ra and Thunderfoot reached some kind of mediocre success on YouTube, a whole bunch of people started posting about their religions and why they're right, and they got into these arguments. And like I said, it was this community thing, and controversy sparked out of them misquoting each other and replying, and etc., etc., etc. But the basis of this video as a reply to Aaron Ra, Thunderfoot, the Magic Sandwich blog TV show and streams and everything else these guys do, and their affiliates and their friends that go on for even hours at a time about atheism and debating with chatters and people that call in over Skype and whatever it is about religious beliefs, and sometimes even for the most part politics, especially when it comes to Texas. Why? Why is this all still being said like it's pertinent? Is it because that people still believe these things, that people still believe that dinosaurs roam the earth, and people believe that the earth is only 2,000 years old, and that Noah's Ark actually is real and happened, and that biblical figures lived hundreds of years, and Jesus was a real person? And I mean, what is all this about? I mean, if you're spiritually content, why not go on about that instead of consistently like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, this is the right way, do this is the right way? Because honestly, from where I'm coming from, trying to tell people what is right for you, that what's right for you is right for everyone, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in what's right for me is right for everyone, and I don't believe that people should be standing up and shouting, I believe this completely, I believe this with my heart and my soul, I believe this with all of my being, and I'm going to preach it and keep it and make it my own, and now I want to make it yours. You should love this too, because I love this so dearly, and this is all that matters to me. I mean, I get it, really, but extremism, being a zealot, or zealot, however you want to pronounce it, being a fanatic, being an extremist, believing something extremely and fanatically, I've always found is inappropriate. And I suppose that's because through my learning of occultist stuff and other world cultures and religions, I found that there was a very well-meaning message in not being all for one thing all of the time, not being unquestioning and not being respectful. It's so strange that after so long and so many videos and so many talks that these things are still being spoken of. And I mean, it's silly maybe that I'm bringing this up and that I'm going on about this right now in this video, which will probably only be viewed a couple times, but listened to, viewed, whatever. It's just, I mean, it's a cultural thing, I get it, it's a recursion thing, it's going to happen over and over again, but, I mean, if people want to believe that dinosaurs roam the earth still, that's fine. Really, that's fine. I mean, it's completely, like, you can't prove it. You can't show any evidence of it. But, shit, if people want to believe that, there's supernatural abilities and stuff in the world, and that there are metahumans and we're capable of so much more, if only our brain's capacity was, 90% more efficient, or whatever the case is, that we could be, capable of great things. We don't need to, flounder in that. We don't need to, wait around in these ideas that these people are right and these people are wrong, when all we got to do is be happy with what we are and what we're capable of. And that shows in everything that people do all of the time. Everything that's around you right now was probably made by people, and everything that you're going to do in terms of work is for others, regardless of you believe in the system or not. It's for other people, because if you look around, everything around you and everything that you do and use is generally from other people. And so that's why the system is correct. And having to lean on religious ideologies and having to profess yours against others, I believe is silly, because if you're content, then relish in the contentment. I mean, if people are happy being ignorant, chalking up that everything works like on magic or something, like a computer isn't a computer because of, a century and a half of computer engineering and electronic engineering and the invention of the microprocessor or whatever. Like, let's pretend it has nothing to do with math, and let's pretend it has everything to do with magic. I mean, to a point, that's ignorant, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's humanizing or spiritual, but it's relaxing. It's a relaxing notion, and probably not because it's stupid or silly or lazy. I think it's relaxing, and to chalk up things to a greater power, or in the case of Sri, I think his name was Aurobindo, who wrote an entire book called The Life Divine. I believe that these simple things, it's just a matter of accepting the splendor of life and relishing in the fact that we are here and everything on Earth is so alike, but we're all so different. And I mean, going on about that, it's not like you don't even need to preach about evolution. It's silly to put evolution against religion, because religious practice and science are almost completely different. Because I mean, even in Arab cultures, they don't have. I mean, there's stuff about swords and all this nonsense about killing people so terribly for what would be considered now minor offenses, not even felonies, maybe just disrespectful. And it mentions nothing about how to make these swords. I think is interesting. There's nothing primordial about like this is how we do this. This is how we make this. It's not about possibility. It's already working from those things. It's already working from the sciences of how to smelt and forge iron and how to sharpen an edge. And it goes on about ceremonial armor and executions, and it's all ceremonial, and it says nothing about creating the linen. Same with the Bible, same with almost every religious text. It says nothing about how to prepare these things. For the story of Noah's Ark, it says nothing about how to make a boat, but you simply accept that it's a boat. And I find that's very. I mean, obviously there's stuff that came before it. And boats are a human invention. Boats don't fall out of the sky, just like computers don't fall out of the sky. And then the microphone doesn't just grow out of the ground. We gotta, these things have been made. And that these things have already been accepted. I don't believe that it's too far to imagine that so much more can be accepted. Whether it be evolution is accepted universally, or rather globally, or that perhaps a singular, super being that monitors the universe can be accepted. There's a great deal of barriers between what is pertinent to what, and I believe that it's always going to be consistent and always going to be pertinent to teach the primordial things. How to survive in society, and not the boundary of society, as in, like, these are the rules of living in this area. These are the laws. For instance, with the Ten Commandments, these are the laws to the land. And it says nothing about the land. It mentions animals. It mentions nothing about farming these animals. And I believe that the primordial thing would be the teaching of fundamental things, like obviously agriculture and economy and engineering and fabrication. These are the important things to humanity. These are the foremost important things in all religious texts. And, I mean, going on about these things, I mean, it's going to continue. But in the end, I still believe it's trite, regardless of my beliefs, regardless of other people's beliefs. I find that it's trite, because if you say something enough times to somebody, and regardless of any reason that you give them, an unreasonable person is generally going to stay unreasonable, and a lot of people find solace in being stuck in their ways, or rather, choosing to stay in their ways. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, because as people, we have the right to choose, and we have the right to do what we believe is right for ourselves. That's silly, and it's probably a ridiculous notion to assert that as a global standard, that people are free to do as they wish, but I believe that, all in all, that is essentially a fundamental truth of humanity, and that, regardless of anyone's standpoint, we should respect one another, unless we start disrespecting one another. It's a silly kind of, it's a cyclical kind of notion, and maybe ridiculous, but anyway, I tried to take part in a discussion with the Magic Sandwich Show earlier, and it was a complete bust, and I found it to be completely useless. People were debating things and stating what they believed to be truths and going on about nonsense, and I just couldn't do it, and it made me kind of reflect on all these videos and these experiences that I've had, and I wanted to record a video, actually, that would probably be much shorter than this audio clip, and it's unfortunate I didn't get to record that video, but I suppose it's all for the best. Anyway, thank you for listening up until this point. I appreciate it, actually. Have a good one.